Welcome back to Education Matters. Did you correctly answer E? What began as a $10 million allocation, the state's private school voucher program is now slated to grow to $145 million annually for a total of $1 billion over 10 years. Joining us now to continue our discussion, we have Kathryn Marker. Kathryn is the Director of Grants, Training, and Outreach at the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority. They have some oversight and accountability responsibility for the Opportunity Scholarship Program. And next to Kathryn, we have Representative Billy Richardson. Representative Richardson from my hometown, Fayetteville. We appreciate you being here today. Kathryn, I want to start with you. The SEA has been around. A lot of people might not know who they are unless they've been involved in some sort of forgivable loan program. Actually, the Teaching Fellows program that we used to run ran through that. But you've been around since the 60s, but in the last few years, a lot of new programs have come your way. Personal education savings accounts are coming. You've got the disability voucher program, this opportunity scholarship program. So we've heard what we were talking about today about this one particular school and some of these schools. Can you tell me a little bit about how schools that participate in the program, sort of what are their requirements from your agency's perspective?
Sure. A school that wants to participate in either the Opportunity Scholarship or the Disabilities Grant needs to first be registered with the Division of Non-Public Education, which is North Carolina's agency that oversees private schools and homeschools. So if a school's registered with DNPE, that can then apply to participate in either or both of the K-12 programs. And they have to turn in some documentation, sign a participation agreement, submit a background check for the staff member with the highest decision-making authority. So when a school submits the participation agreement, they agree to do a number of things, such as submit a standardized test score for students in 3rd grade and up each year. They need to agree to apply the funds to the student's account in a timely manner and return funds for a student that withdraws in a timely manner. Right. Larger schools have 2 additional requirements. If a school receives more than $300,000 in a year from one of the programs, then that school needs to submit a financial review. And so at the close of the fiscal year, that school is responsible for submitting that financial review to SEAA.
Well, that's an interesting point because, I mean, there are, like you said, there are only the sort of larger schools, $300,000, which certainly the ones we showed on the screen, the top 10, those were all in that category, sure. So including Trinity. Right. And yet, clearly there were at least some financial issues. Are what you're asked to look at in terms of, I mean, I guess my question is, what does a financial review look like? And not to put too fine a point on it, how does someone take $400,000 out of state payroll taxes and it not show up in a financial review? Well,
I would point out that a financial review is not an audit. So that's, for some people that they might be interchangeable, but in terms of accounting principles, that's a different, it's more of a statement. Right. So it's a statement of, revenues, cash flows, it's a statement of assets. And so we collect that and, on a case-by-case basis, we go reach out to the school if we feel like it's not clear or if there's some, issue that needs to be clarified. Right.
Now, Representative Richardson, well, again, like I said, you're from Fayetteville, but you're in the General Assembly. The policies are set. The things that Kathryn's talking about are the things that you and your colleagues put into place and say, this is what you need to look at and this is what you don't have to. I mean, what are your thoughts on, again, I guess what you heard about Trinity and then overall as far as the accountability of the program?
Well, we're guilty of not living up to the public trust. When people pay their hard-earned wages to taxes, and those taxes go to things such as roads or education, it is imperative that we give the folks that have the oversight to make certain that they have the tools necessary to make sure that sacred trust that the citizen gives us and with their hard-earned tax dollars is spent wisely. And I can just tell you now, one of our big concerns and debate on the floor was the lack of oversight of this voucher program. The United States of America, and this is really important for your listeners or viewers to understand, the United States is dead last of the 28 developing nations in teacher compensation, dead last. We are among the last in the nation in teacher compensation. And yet here we are taking hard-earned taxpayer dollars and in a system that is already stressed to the max, and we're putting it out in an unsupervised way to these programs that are just not doing a very good job with it. And we need to do a full-scale audit of this because there's too many problems cropping up.
Right. Well, let me ask you about Kathy. You mentioned about the financial review, but I mean, like for example, does the State Education Authority, do you look at curriculum? Do you look at how the schools are doing, how the students are performing? Or is that part of your I guess, charge from the General Assembly to do?
It is not. We do collect test scores from students. The schools need to submit them, but we don't have oversight of curriculum or programming at the schools. We're a financial aid agency, essentially, and it's our job to make sure that the funds go to the student's account at the school, and that you know, that families understand how those monies are applied on their behalf.
Right. Now, again, I'm not. You only speak on what you feel comfortable commenting on. But with what is public record about Trinity Christian, for example, is there anything about a teacher serving time on the weekends and teaching during the week that would violate any of your rules in terms of them staying in the program?
I mean, we collect a background check from the staff member with the highest decision-making authority, so that would be the head of school. We don't have oversight over the staff in any way.
And I should just point out, I did talk to the Division of Non-Public Education. I talked to the Assistant Secretary, Department of Administration over there, and then they pointed out, very similar to what you said. There are things that we're asked to fill out. It's more or less a registry. They have 5 staff members over there that oversee 80,000 homeschools and all the private schools and a lot of these new programs. So she didn't say this, but I'll say it. It seemed like it was probably not a lot of people looking over this. Representative Richardson, something that the legislature might need to have some conversation.
It's a real problem. And when she used the term review versus audit, again, that is so critical that your viewers understand the difference. The accounting firm that did the review of this is a very respected accounting firm in Fayetteville. But again, it is a very limited review. It's not a detailed audit of how these funds are being spent and how they're being utilized. And if you look at the numbers that they say that they're reporting on the face of it, it's in Fayetteville, it's one thing, but then when you start digging into it, it's almost 200 students more. Right. So we've got a real disconnect between accountability and taxpayers' funds. Again, it's not the people's fault that we've got in charge of it. We've just tied their hands so much in the General Assembly. And you know, my teacher used to tell me that the road to Hades is paved with good intentions. I understand the intentions of this was to give flexibility so that we could really try to fix problems. But one of the most important things you can have in public trust is transparency. And right now we have no transparency in this, and it's got to change.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave that with the final word from you. Thank you, Representative Richardson. We'll have to check back in with you and some of your colleagues to see sort of if this sort of develops some more. And Kathryn, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
After the break, this week's final word.